Hey friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for you today. This is day 9 of Mind Games from Bythewell4god. Please excuse my froggy voice. I lost my voice last week and it's just now coming back, but it's still a little rough. So I'm starting out with these stamps from By the Well that have the eternity in view. This has got the little viewfinder on it. And I picked out one of the pattern papers to use for the background of this stamp. And I'm just going to use my stamp positioning tool and stamp this out. I did this because I felt like I might need to stamp it more than once just in case. And I wanted to get a really good and dark impression. So I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx ink for this. And then I'm going to just cut out this little viewfinder. So I am embossing this with some clear embossing just to make the whole process a little bit easier. And also, if I want to add some color to it later, I can do that and we'll kind of just keep everything. But this just gives it that sort of, plasticky type of look that was, the nature of viewfinders. You can see here, I'm just heating up all of that clear embossing powder. I like doing this too because it really intensifies the black ink, I think. And then I cut it out and I'm cutting out the little section of the viewfinder, but I'm being very careful to save this piece because I'm going to use it as a little pull tab for one of my flashcards so that my flashcard will kind of sit behind the viewfinder, so that when you pull it out, you can kind of see I'm picking out one of the flashcards here, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to sort of get this at the top. And it's obviously going to be too long, so I'll have to deal with that in a little bit, but I'm just kind of adding it right at the very, very top, just trying to figure out the best placement, and this little piece will slide in and out back behind my viewfinder. So what I end up doing is kind of gluing it right at the edge and trimming down the actual flashcard. So I'm using some art glitter glue here. I like this because it just has a really fine tip on it, and just kind of holding everything in place. And then I'm going to glue that down, and it dries really quickly as well. So now I'm just going to put that viewfinder back. You can see a little bit of the flashcard peeking out. So I'm just marking this with a pencil and I'm going to trim that out. Probably totally unnecessary. It's just the way my brain works. I wanted it to be completely hidden back behind the viewfinder. Of course, you can see that little bottom section down there, but we're going to hide that too. So I'm kind of going to put this in the corner of the bottom of this tag. And then I wanted to add another viewfinder reel. This is one of the ones from Bythewell4god. And so, but I'm making a pocket with this, and so I don't want things to get stuck on the holes. So I'm just adding some vellum behind that. And then I'm going to kind of make a pocket that sort of works together. So part of this viewfinder is going to be on the little wheel, and then that will allow that one piece to kind of to slip down behind it. But I was having trouble keeping everything in place, so I grabbed a paper clip and just kept that flashcard, clipped to the actual viewfinder just so I could get all the placement of everything, just because it was a little bit fiddly. But I'm gluing down this part of the viewfinder, and so the viewfinder is glued to the wheel, but the piece behind it will slide back behind the wheel as well into a little pocket that I'm making on the corner. I hope that makes sense. It's really not that complicated. It's just, it was just kind of working with all the multiple layers. You can see here how those other flashcards are just going to slide down in there. I'm just holding everything in place while this dries. And then I'm running some glue down around the bottom and the right side of this just to finish gluing down this wheel. And that will actually allow that whole thing now to be a pocket. So I'm able to fit those other flashcards back behind there, and everything will just kind of slide in and out. And so I'm going to trim off this excess from this little wheel, just very carefully, not trying to cut off the piece of the actual viewfinder. I want that hanging off. And then you can see here how all of that just tucks in together. So I have the one that actually is part of the viewfinder, and then the other flashcards that tucked back behind that. And then I felt like it just needed a little bit something else on the front. And so I wanted to kind of layer another one of these little wheels. So I kind of messed with this a little bit, trying to figure out like if I wanted it to layer. I didn't want it to layer over the viewfinder because it says eternity's value in view on it. And so I didn't want to cover up any of that wording, but I just felt like it needed something down in that bottom corner. So I tried one of these little puzzle pieces, and that really wasn't working for me either. And I did have this other journaling card that has some more of the verses on it. So I just made that into a tag, and I'll actually add that on the tag ring when I put it all together, because it's not going to fit back behind that little viewfinder, which is fine. I've done that with multiple tag or journaling cards through this month. It's just added a hole to them and then put them on the ring itself. But I did decide to go ahead and just use another little viewfinder. I'm just cutting out a small section of it, and I can still use this wheel on another tag or whatever. I just wanted another little piece of something down here at the bottom just to give it a little bit more interest, but to not cover up the actual viewfinder itself. So I did not add any vellum or anything behind this one because it's not holding anything. So I just glued it straight down in this little corner over here, just a little piece of it. And then I do feel like I need something kind of up in that top left-hand corner. So I will pull in that puzzle piece, and it's going to go, I tried it in a couple different places, but I kind of like the sort of diagonal look of everything. And so I switched to the back really quickly while I'm kind of deciding what I want to do. I added the label for the day, which is Preach It. And then I have my little domino that I added onto some pattern paper, again, trim that out to show that this is day 9. And then I pulled out the Daniel Smith watercolors that come with the kit, and I just want to add a little bit more dimension to my viewfinder. So I'm using kind of this pink color here. I'm going to water it down pretty significantly, and I'm going to actually take advantage now of the sort of borders that were created when I did all of the embossing, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color in some of these sections just to give it a little bit more dimension. Obviously, what I'm coloring here is not this is not watercolor paper. It's not really intended, but it does actually work. This Bythewell4god paper can hold up to a lot. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some of that into kind of like the eye part and the little nose piece, and then the little viewfinder itself, just kind of here and there, adding just a little bit of interest, just to give it a little bit more dimension. It's certainly an unnecessary step. I just felt like it needed a little something. So I'm just adding a very watered down color. And then again, this is what it looks like when it's dry. I just kind of dropped the color in. I wasn't doing anything real specific with it. And then I am going to add this little puzzle piece. I did distress all the edges of everything with my archival ink in ground espresso, and I went around the tag and everything. I just feel like everything looks better with that little border. And then as you thought I would have learned this the other day, but I decided to go ahead and add some glossy accents to my viewfinder as well, to the little eye sections, and then to the wheels of that very front wheel there, just to try to kind of fill that in, just to give it a little bit more dimension again. And then that will just have to sit for a while to dry. But I just wanted to have a little bit more dimension. I really think it brings those little wheels to life as well, having that little glossy accents in there. And then that is everything for my tag. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.